What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. He's Myron Fancher. How the heck are you, man?
I am worn out, but I am back on the internet. I would give you my neighbor's address to harass for breaking my internet, but it's right next to my house. And I don't want most of y'all to know my address. But I'm back. I know what's going on, mostly. Nick's got thousands and thousands of numbers and information for us today. It's a lot of numbers, a lot of abbreviations. Is it good news, though, Nick?
It's a lot of good news for a lot of people. And Myron's correct, folks. 5 pages of notes for this show. We normally average 2 or 3, give or take.
Yeah.
But it's 5. There's lots of numbers, lots of stuff, lots of details. We're going to kick off the show with a little WWE ESPN talk. We're going to end the show with a little UFC Paramount Plus stuff. Why, you ask? Are we talking about the UFC TV deal? I think they kind of tie together a little bit, and I think the pros and the cons kind of affected each other, if you ask me personally.
Oh, yeah.
But there's no way we're going to get into all of those numbers. If you want to get into those details, those are going to be on the show notes, which you can find exclusively on the Patreon page, patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Like I said, $1 level, get you the show notes. $5 level, get you the show early. $10 gets you everything early and the digital collectible that's exclusive to Patreon every month. And then at the $25 level, you get everything we remotely do, as well as a physical 8.5 by 11 Patreon exclusive. Myron, I'm not sure, but I'm working on something that if I can swing, people are going to be absolutely floored with this month. I was talking to somebody today. I don't know that it's going to happen, so I don't want to advertise it and talk about it. I may tell you off of air.
I've seen the people you've been hanging around with. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, this one's... Anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But so let's dive in. Look, let's get into the big money stuff. Look, I did a little bit of... Well, it's still going to be on Peacock all the way through 2025. And, of course, here's the problem. Your wrestling, you're a big WWE guy too. Your wrestling's everywhere apparently right now. That's the problem. We're going to get to some of that as the problem piece of it. I did a little bit look, we recorded literally, it was in the can. We were getting ready to drop last week's episode, and then this whole deal come out. Here's the funny thing. I'm kind of glad it did, because so much more stuff has kind of trickled out over the last week on this ESPN WWE deal. Let's get some of the semantics out of the way. 5 years, $1.6 billion. Obviously, it's going to start in March of 2026. I think that matters because the way everything's going to loop over. So I think their first one is it's going to be Mania, right? That's their first big event. Will be Mania.
Mania. So
yeah. Exclusive United States home for all WWE PLEs. Here's the confusion. And by the way, doubled Peacock's old deal, $180 million, basically. Not quite, but close. Kudos for pulling the dollar figures. Well, let's start there. That's a great pull by Nick Khan.
What is it about people named Nick that can handle money?
Jolly old Saint Nick. Look, there's lots of details out there, but there's a lot of confusion out there. The thing with the whole, it's the ESPN direct-to-consumer product, $29.99 a month. That's where you're going to be able to find it. Now, here's the funny take. I forgot to mention you. Conrad Thompson was, there was this whole thing out about there are going to be other ways. We'll get to some of those in a minute. Other ways that you can get this app. And they're like, well, why didn't they make it clear as to who, you know what? Let's get to there in a second. I want to come back to that because I want to get all the details out of the way. Wrestlemania, SummerSlam, Rumble, all the PLEs, ESPN. Some of them are actually going to, by the way, air on ESPN, the linear channel, not just the app. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. Terminology in the last week's been a thing, right?
Well, the good thing about us being, the stuff dropping right after we recorded last week is there wasn't any of that. I ain't watching that. I ain't gonna see that. I ain't gonna get that stuff that everybody was posting on the internet. We had a chance to get our facts right before we got here.
Well, I mean, because here,
as close as we could,
up to date as much as possible. That's all I can promise you. The pre-shows and the post-shows, those are not going to be on YouTube anymore. They're going to be on ESPN. And then, of course, the WWE still will produce those events. It's going to be in-house. The ESPN just gets to air the stuff. Let's get into your favorite topic right out of the gate. What's not included? The library. I said it right. I'm proud of myself. I used to say it, the library, but I'm saying library. So as of now, no library, no vault, call it what you want to, on ESPN. Now, we've saw in the last days or whatever, ESPN's interested. They are interested in getting that back catalog at some point, which makes perfect sense because I asked you, I had done as much research that I could possibly find, and my answer was, okay, so what happens after it airs? Like, we're just assuming, and I think I'm assuming right, the replay is going to be on the app, so you'll still be able to watch it. But what if I just want to watch the WrestleMania that happened in 2025 or 23? It ain't there, folks. It ain't there. So where's it going to be? ESPN even expressing the interest. Let me ask you this. I want your take on this because this is weird to ask. I'm sure somebody in that room considered this, but I was almost going to be like, did y'all not think about that? Like when y'all were cutting this deal, like you just saw the.
They something. And what about AAA, man? They did that test of AAA on YouTube, and it did great. Where's AAA going to go? What are they going to do with AAA? Is that going to go? Was it ESPN?
I got to do some digging. I've heard that deal is not actually final until October. Somebody told me that, and I'm like,
I think you're right, but they're making deals ahead of everything, though. So.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. And then they couldn't probably finalize the deal with AAA until that deal's final. So, because technically, anyway, whole other conversation.
They split the deal with the broadcasting service.
The flip or whatever, yeah. So, by the way, here's the crazy one I asked. You people complained about the commercials on Peacock. We hadn't really been explained to like, hey, what are the limits here if this thing airs on an ESPN channel? Like commercials. I'm going to have one for you right out that I said this. I assure you, what if ESPN obviously Disney, it blurs, and I catch myself sometimes saying Disney because Disney owns ESPN, and so I just kind of say Disney sometimes. What if Disney wakes up and says, how about just every year we just put WrestleMania on ESPN and we sell commercials like that? And look, folks, I get it. I mean, it's a little bit of an exaggeration. Scaled, but we sell it like it's the Super Bowl. Commercials, I mean, they kind of know. They'll have an idea. Just put that thing on ESPN and see what happens. Watch how many people watch that thing on ESPN for free, like a part of their cable, whatever.
I wish they'd get it on the Disney Channel, man. Because that way, all I do is watch Star Wars and wrestling on the same channel.
They're going to bundle. I think there will be a giant bundle. I've heard of a tale of a bundle that'll end up being one app that is ESPN, Hulu, because Hulu's going away. It's bundling into Disney. And then so Disney, Hulu / ESPN in one giant app. That would be awesome. You get integrated all into one body because you already can do Hulu into your Disney Plus. Yeah, that's what I do. So when it comes to commercials, folks, I got a feeling if they can sell a high dollar value commercials during WrestleMania and air that thing on ESPN, that's the value for them.
Good God, they're selling shoes in the storyline right now, Nick. Do you think the Shula Fala is a chance and
Okay.
it just happened after Roman Reigns signed a deal with Nike?
Yeah, it wasn't a fluke. By the way, Bronson Reed walks out on TV. My wife says, "Who's that?" I tell her. She rolls her eyes a little bit and she goes, "What's up with the shoes? That's stupid." I said, "They're Roman Reigns' shoes." Do you know what he calls that thing around his neck? She did. Kudos to her. She knew what that thing that Uofala. She knew what it was. Yeah. And I go, he calls that the Shulafala. And she's just like, okay, that's funny. And she went back to working again. But I'm like, that story's over with her in like literally 30 seconds. And I was like, she thought that was funny. And I said, oh, by the way, Roman Reigns has a deal with Nike. She goes, figures. And I was like, exactly. So anyway, let's get back on point here with this deal. So we got to know, the back catalog doesn't have a home, commercials, all of that kind of stuff. Let's go with two scenarios real quick, and I want your opinion before we kind of move on. Does ESPN throw out the extra money, and do they get the catalog, or do you think WWE goes, they get it through YouTube or Netflix buys it or whatever, and just they kind of go that route?
Well, we still don't have the whole catalog out right now, right? You can't find some of the stuff that was on the WWE Network on Peacock, right?
Well, that's because Peacock didn't want it. Listen, look, we hate to be the bearer of bad news, folks, and we do a wrestling podcast. Look, I love Memphis wrestling. You love Continental wrestling. I love Continental. There's all these, but not that particular, but you know what I'm saying. But like as far as all these promotions that they own, the AWA and all that kind of stuff, there's such a minute piece of the audience that's actually watching that. The diehards that watch it are watching it loyally, and they're into it and they're invested. But it's such a small audience. It is just such a small audience.
You talking about some YouTube like content strikes for people if they put it on YouTube and so people are showing old Memphis wrestling on YouTube, them things going to be take down.
No. I'm saying what if, because WWE's done the vault. They put the WCW stuff out. They were putting some of the old other stuff out that they just didn't have a home for. Do they just do it themselves and monetize their YouTube channel? It already is, but you know what I'm saying? And just take the ad revenue from it and see what is it generating them.
And let YouTube handle the servers?
Yeah, it's not their problem. And it's there until YouTube goes away someday. Who knows? And, oh, by the way, YouTube's the second largest search engine on the planet.
Well, I sure hope that means they get the deal on YouTube TV then, because I got YouTube TV. And we're talking about maybe not YouTube TV. You give me a list of all these networks and cable packages and stuff I've never heard of.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. Let's dive that into a minute.
I know what a Fubu is.
Yeah, so Peacock was $10.99. What? By the way, tangent number 2 for the show. Talk about not having a clue what they're doing. Did you see what Peacock did? They announced that they're like, oh, we're losing WWE. We're raising the price on our app.
To make up for it. To make up for the money they're going to lose. They're going to raise
the
price.
Here's the thing. We got you, bastard, for another 4 months.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Man, what do you watch on Peacock? I watch Law and Order, Organized Crime. I watch replays of Law and Order SVU on there.
SVU. That's it. And WWE. Why do you think I dude, that's why when that deal last Black Friday where I bought it for $29.99 for the whole year, that's why I did it. Because I was like, dude, I'm literally paying $29.99 for all of the PLEs for the whole year. I just broke it down in my head and was like, that's less than $3, a month. So I was like, all right, that's worth it. I don't know that 10, 11, 12, what I think they're $12.99, whatever they're going to. I don't think it's worth it for me anymore after that. That's speaking of what we were talking about earlier. Well, off the air, I'll come back to that. Finding an identity, they need one. ESPN $29.99. The problem was everybody lost their shit, went batshit crazy, jumped on social media. Hey, I'm never going to sign up for this. I ain't doing this. I'm not going to pay for that. It's too expensive. I'm like, well, first of all, back in the day, we used to pay $29 for a shitty in-your-house pay-per-view.
How much were the big ones? Were like 50, 60, weren't they?
Well, they were $39, and then it gradually climbed up over time. It was just what it was. But then the news comes out, your cable subscribers may get it free. And we're like, oh. Then everybody bitched to complain. What cable providers? A list came out as of recording. DirecTV, Spectrum, Fubo TV, Hulu Live TV, and Verizon Fios, whatever, however you pronounce it. Those were going to be, you'd be able to access the app basically with your thing as long as you had the ESPN packages. Here's the problem that I had with that. I'm like, okay. For example, my mother-in-law has DirecTV. There is a tier that has like ESPN, ESPN2. Then there's a tier that has all of the ESPNs, and I'm like, so do you got to have that one to get the app, or does it
on your cable doesn't mean that it's on your cable?
Right. So, and they're like, oh, it's the ultimate one, I think is what you need. So a lot of stuff still needs to be figured out. I think
they got it figured out. They ain't just telling us yet.
I'm talking about from us. We got to figure, not like surely they know what they're doing. They're just not telling us. And there's a lot of reason to be ambiguous when they're having these conversations. And that reason is simple. They don't want people to make rash decisions based on, and I think I can't explain other than I just think they just don't want you to know yet. It boils down to that simple.
Like I would run out and subscribe to Fubo TV right now.
So Fubo TV is like basically if you were wanting a like Sling or one YouTube TV, by the way, but if you're more sports heavy, it's loaded with sports channels. That's a good streaming service if you're a big sports fan. It has all of the ESPNs. That's kind of why it makes sense that it's included in this list. Now, Comcast, YouTube TV, as of recording, we're not confirmed. We're not saying they're not going to be on the list. I have
all the ESPNs on my YouTube TV.
But are they working out? Here's what I think, by the way. I don't know if you saw, I saw the other day, YouTube TV, by the way, they're in negotiations with ESPN, and if they don't get this deal worked out by the end of the year, they will probably lose ESPN off of YouTube TV. This happens on all the cable channels, and it goes whatever. So, yeah, so your YouTube TV could possibly lose the ESPN channels. I don't know, right in the fucking championship seasons and the playoffs of the NFL and the playoffs of college football. That would go great.
Like a fart in church.
So I think a lot of the reason why is ESPN, two things. They want to hype the streaming service. My interpretation of this, and I'm, by the way, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I could be a total moron with what I'm about to say because I don't have all the information, but this is what I think. Part of the reason they're not giving you all the information is because I think it's really simple. They don't want you to get rid of your cable. When your DirecTV bill went up, one of the big reasons it went up is because they cut a new deal with ESPN to give them a bigger piece of the pie. So ESPN, even if they're like, they don't want you to go down in your package on your cable package because they're getting a bigger piece of the pie when you're in the ultimate, at the top tier to keep all their channels. This, I believe, was built because everybody's trying to get ahead of the game. Well, too late. But they were thinking they're trying to get ahead of the game for the cord cutters who just absolutely don't want any, Charter, Comcast, DirecTV, none of that. They don't want cable. This is just a package they can buy during football season or whatever. Now they're trying to we need to lock in outside of football season.
Well, how many weeks a year does wrestling run? What's its seasons?
52. It doesn't go away. It's a lesson everybody probably picked up from Netflix.
My wife bitches about that. It don't ever stop. It don't have a season. There's wrestling.
You know what your retort to her should be?
What?
Try having a podcast about it.
She doesn't bitch about it like she used to.
As much as we would look, as much as we love it and we love talking about it, I will not lie to you. There are times I'm like, a month off would be awesome. There are times that,
I think we both die If we had a month
Yeah.
off, we'd die and never know do another podcast. And that's not even including the indie shows on top of this.
Yeah. So here's the, look, we're 20 minutes in. We may not even get to the AEW topic that's buried in the middle there. We'll do our best, folks, because the UFC one's going to be a deep dive, probably a 2. So we'll get into the, why is this a win for WWE? Well, you're going to hear the reverse of this later. We'll leave it be, right? But it's going to be part of that later. The day they announced the deal, Roman Reigns is sitting at the table on First Take, getting, well, to the side. They have 4 people around a round table, but yes. But having a conversation with Stephen A. Smith and a couple other people. You see what I mean? Like, it's just the casualist of fans of like, it's a win for them because ESPN. Now, when I use this loosely, by the way, because when I say ESPN's credibility, I really mean loosely when I say credibility. But what it does mean is it's a broader sports reach, kind of what UFC did. UFC went out and grabbed a whole lot of casual fans when they kind of went from over here. They were a niche product.
Yeah.
And ESPN made them mainstream by talking about them on SportsCenter, talking about them on First Take, talking about it, giving them shows or whatever. History may be repeating itself. Like, that may be what TKO sees with WWE. To like, let's put it this way. I'm trying to use an example. We use Billy, our buddy Billy, all the time.
Yeah.
He had Peacock because he had Comcast. It was just included in his thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and they were getting rid of that. But here's my question. Billy may not sign up for, a streaming service or whatever for WWE. Put them all on ESPN and tell me Billy's not going to casually on a Saturday or a Sunday, if he's not out and about, he's not going to sit there and watch it.
His kid will watch it. Brooke will watch every one of them. And think about it. Are we going to get a Wrestling Sports Center? How about that? Every day at a certain time, you get your latest wrestling news. If you need people, we are both ready and available to come and be your ESPN WWE commentators.
Yeah.
I just need a really strong chair.
Yeah.
This one's I'm fat.
And look, last but not least, we discussed it earlier. They went from $180 million to $325 million a year on the deal. That's why it's a win for WWE. Guaranteed money, almost doubling what you got. Just if you don't think this is a win for the WWE, I think you're bananas.
And they're going to turn around and reinvest a lot of this money.
The stock is at $191.28 as we speak, as we record.
And they'd have more payroll numbers for people too.
I don't think so, folks. I disagree. That's the problem people are going to have, I think. This is the highest. Yeah, this is the highest the stock has been in a year. That's what I figured. So, anyway. Why the fans pushed back, everybody bitching and complaining about prices. And listen, by the way, I'm not saying that in a way of like, I get it, dude. Shit's expensive right now.
Times are tough, man. But read.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Look, everybody bitched about $9.99 in the network. You'd kill for that network today.
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you want to know why we don't have a network? Same reason a lot of deals happen. And I say this all the time with all due respect. The people that pirate and stuff like that, they're the reason these deals happen. They got out of the pay-per-view business because everybody's like, oh, man, I ain't paying for these. I'll just pirate them. It just worked, and they just backdoored it around another way. And like, hey, I can still pirate it. I can still be... You don't think you're not costing yourself any money, but in the long run, you're costing everybody some money.
Well, even like our friend Dave. If it's an AEW pay-per-view, he don't buy it. He goes to a sports bar and watches it.
Well, that's different because they've cut deals with those people.
Yeah, but it's still not as much money to be... I mean, if you got it at home, why even worry about going to sports bar? That's more subscriptions.
it is what it is. Now, the potential ripple effect of this, by the way, the artist formerly known as Baron Corbin, he's on a show, he's talking about it, and he's kind of like, yeah, if people backlash enough, no pun intended, do they just go over to AEW and give them a try? And my argument was, and what, pay $59 a pay-per-view for theirs?
Because that's the strength. To me, AEW strengths are their pay-per-views. That's the ones I want to watch more than anything else they do are the pay-per-views.
Table that. I'm going to end on an AEW pay-per-view when we get into the UFC category. I want to come back to that. Thanks for the listeners for sending the questions in. We had a few. I'm going to mix it up a little bit this week and add the questions that kind of involve the topics right after the topics when we talked about it. David from Philadelphia, with WWE moving to ESPN, do you think the presentation will feel more like a traditional sports broadcast, or will it keep the entertainment-heavy style WWE known for? I think it's a no-brainer. It's clearly going to stay with what they are.
They're going to stay with what they are, but I think there's going to be more sports-type coverage, stuff you don't get now.
I think the Disney portion of ESPN, the ownership, will over and say, like, we get it's entertainment. Roll with it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to play a part. Like, you thought Unreal was a thing where they used to kind of sell shows and sell paper or PLEs. ESPN's about to be in the WWE business for 5 years. That's all I'm going to tell people. Like, you think you can't tell we're going to get to this topic in a minute. You can't tell a work and a shoot now. Wait till ESPN gets involved. Katrina from Dallas, could ESPN's coverage lead to more mainstream sports fans becoming WWE viewers, or will it appeal to the existing fan base? Simple answer. $1.6 billion says they're praying to God that they get some more casual fans. And you know what I think, Myron? I think they do.
I think they're going to get those don't change the channel TV fans. People are just watching something, they leave it, they see something they see something cool. If ESPN is running highlights in front of people who aren't watching ESPN for wrestling, if they're running highlights, they're going to get all kind of new audience.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to discuss social media in a little bit. The pickup think of the power of social media from WWE's standpoint and ESPN's social media footprint working together. That's a powerful little tool they're going to have to work out. Marcus from Las Vegas, Nevada. How might ESPN sports analysts and commentators affect the way WWE storylines are discussed and covered on air? I think we kind of talked about that a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a lot of work shoot stuff that you're going to get. I think they're just going to cover it like it's entertainment for the most part, but they're going to cover it. That simple. Samantha from Atlanta, Georgia. Do you think the ESPN deal could open the door for more crossover events between WWE and other sports leagues? Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
It has to. It's just going to fall into place. So they see money and they'll be like, that's money. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to work. Okay. We'll All-Star Weekend. We'll run a game. Well, they did run a show during All-Star Weekend here in Atlanta, but there's going to be more coordinated stuff, I think.
I think two things. I think, one, they were already doing, like, they have a deal with the Big 12 already. Don't be shocked if they get in bed with the ACC or SEC, because that's who airs on the ESPN channels. And two, how about, I don't know, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to put this in the right words here. You're going to see crossover from the extent of game day, more wrestlers that were already there.
Yes.
The draft. The Manning brothers have a thing on ESPN too, where they do a Manning cast during Monday Night Football. Somebody who's on SmackDown and ain't wrestling on Monday, they might be the guest host for that quarter. You are going to be bombarded. I mean, how long did it take for that John Cena, app commercial that I shared and put out there? It literally was out within minutes of them making the announcement. So, Eddie from Boston, will having WWE on ESPN change the way wrestlers are perceived by the general public? No. I'd love to tell you it does. I don't think it will. Here's the thing. I think what they will get is they will get lapsed fans, people that used to watch and haven't watched anymore. If it's, you brought it up, the person that doesn't change the channel. Oh, what's this? I used to watch wrestling back in the day. And then you see some cool athletic stuff going on or some cool drama story going on. And be like, all right, I'm in. I'm in.
It's readily available. You know, it's like putting candy out for kids. They just always going to find it and grab a piece. If you just around, you see it, it's handy. I wouldn't pay for that, but since it's already on my ESPN,
little clips pop up on your social media, you know, that from on ESPN's app, and they're teasing you a little bit to go watch something. Like, oh, all right, I got to see what happens there.
Superman punch, come flying across the screen.
All kinds of stuff. Brock Lesnar. Wait, what? I didn't know what Brock Lesnar was doing anymore. I was a UFC fan. I was a WWE fan. I think, all right, I'm going to check it out. I think he's going to be wrestling somebody soon. Yeah, we'll get to that. Let's move along, man. Karrion Kross and Scarlett, literally the headline of this whole segment, officially gone or still a work?
Work or shoot. Work.
Is this the new era of a WWE? We call it the WWE Unreal era, where they are going to go through, like, we have no clue. And God bless them, I'm all for it.
Look at R-Truth. He broke the mold on how this kind of stuff works. Was that real? Was that real?
Dude, CM Punk, when he came back, no one had a clue. Brock Lesnar come back, nobody had a clue. People are claiming they knew about Seth Rollins. I think people wanted to know. I called it.
Yes.
Sometimes, here's my thing. Sometimes, look, I said it. I ain't going to lie to you. Sometimes you're throwing shit out just like, wouldn't it be cool if I was right about this? It would be awesome if it happened. You don't know. Dude was on Rich Eisen show in a brace and, you know, on crutches. He actually, by the way, did you know he actually took a trip to the place in Birmingham to pretend like he, you know, now my thing is he probably went and they probably found out, no, he wasn't really hurt that bad. But then they ran with it. And it worked because he actually went.
See, that's the greatest thing about doing a wrestling podcast. You can say all kind of crazy shit, and when you're right, you look like a damn genius.
Yeah.
But when you're wrong, nobody remembers it because it's pro wrestling.
Yeah. Plans changed. That's what they always say. Plans changed. Anyway, Karrion Kross, Scarlett, contracts were up August 10th, apparently. They took this they actually released a documentary that he was filming.
He had a book come out, too.
He published by ECW Press, I think, which WWE promoted a little bit. We start kind of going, wait, what? Here, basically, let's get to we're going to run out of time if we go into this super deep. He's been trying to renegotiate a contract. You know, a lot of people were saying, you know, the hashtag We Want Kross movement pushed and pushed and pushed. They should have re-signed him. Some of the talents in the back think it's a work. Some of them don't even you know, maybe it is, maybe it didn't. They talked about the R-Truth thing, like you said. But out of the blue, Scarlett's taking outside bookings. Literally like, you know, they wouldn't let her do that, right? Well, maybe. Here's why.
Natalia was on GCW.
Exactly. The only thing that kind of pushes back a little bit is then earlier, let's do the time loop machine, today. Karrion Kross is on a Ariel Lawani show and said he was offered a contract, but it was only for him and not for his wife. And he didn't re-sign it because he wanted it as a package deal. Best line I got in a long time is somebody said, you don't hire an attorney and then hire his wife who has no, you know, just because she's not going to give you legal advice. She just stands next to her husband. Okay, I don't need her. I need you. I get the package deal and I understand all that. Maybe they just had a different vision for him at that
Well,
point.
she didn't work matches, right?
Listen, she did not. But I thought the package was a really cool thing, but where I think there might be some pushback to ask wrestling fans who are throwing a fit about it, maybe they had a different vision for just him. Like they wanted to go in a different direction without her.
Killer Cross. From NXT.
But even then she was with him, but they just maybe are like how many times have we have started the conversation is we're not saying we don't like her. We just don't see the value in paying her to be here. Like, there's two different things. If her, listen,
ROI, man.
Go home, get back on OnlyFans, take your indie bookings and do your thing. Like, we're not telling you because that's more than we're willing to pay you. Maybe that's the case.
She's working with Shotzi and Matt Cardona.
Yeah, who knows? Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure what's going on.
No.
And that leads us to the questions. Derek from Philadelphia, do you think Karrion Kross not re-signing was more about money, creative direction, or both? I think we kind of covered that. I honestly think it boils down to it's both. He wanted money for her. They didn't see the creative direction for her, so they weren't going to pay her. So it's kind of both.
This is all a big work, too.
Or we're going to all look like morons because it was a work, yeah. Lisa, San Antonio, Texas, was Kross unhappy with the WWE used him on TV, and could that be the main reason? No, I think he kind of completely said that he would stay. He wanted to stay.
And he was on every show. He was on pay-per-views. He was on the weekly shows. He was always doing something.
Matt from Portland, where do you see Karrion Kross landing next? AEW, TNA, Japan? Or here's the thing. I don't think he fits very well in AEW right now. People are going to push back on crazy. Send your hate mail, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That's not a knock on either person, by the way. I just don't think it's fit right now. If you want my answer, I'd say TNA or AAA.
Maybe AAA, but I think he'll be in AEW. If he's really gone, he'll be in AEW. That's going to be something Tony Khan would love to snap up just because.
Tony's got more restrained lately, man. I've noticed it. He's not just pulling the trigger like he used to.
Well, maybe he's listening to some people, some smart people that hang around him. But
I hope so.
If he shows up in TNA or AAA, it's going to be like, is he really gone?
Yeah, no.
Is he like the next Nick Nemeth who comes back?
Or GCW, who is affiliated with him too. So who knows?
Yeah.
Next thing I wanted to jump in like super fast. Little backstage heat rumors from WWE from AEW, the Hurt Syndicate, MVP Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin. They've been on a tear. They're the tag champions, but apparently MVP's ruffling feathers. By the way, I'm trying to remember, and I'm like, I met MVP somewhere. I really had a lot to have a drink. I must have had a lot to drink that night because I don't remember where it was, but I know I've met him somewhere.
Probably WrestleCade.
That's terrible. That is terrible that I have no clue where it was.
We've met so many stars, though.
Yeah.
Montavious Bond Porter. What?
Yeah. Apparently
he's too involved in his booking is what he's trying to do from what I hear. Everybody says, "Oh, I won't book this team. I won't work this team. I won't." He called some people out. Mike Bailey. You're going to put a title on Mike Bailey. You're going to take the title off Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and put it on Mike Bailey. No slack on Mike Bailey, but that don't make sense to me either. MVP.
But he didn't want to drop the belts to FTR either. He wanted it to be, a young team. Here's the crazy thing. By the way, the Outrunners, that would have been fun. They're a fun team to watch. But here, but it's, by the way, I want to put them on these three teams. By the way, we've beaten all three of these teams on TV before. So it kind of is what it is. The other issue was that a lot of the people were kind of complaining backstage that, they're cool heels. They're the NWO at this point. They're getting cheered. They're high-fiving fans walking out of the arena. They get to do cool stuff. They get to beat everybody up, and they just don't get shown up. It is what it is. You know what I think? I don't know why. I just don't buy it. There's so much locker. Anyway, whatever.
How much do we have to find out from the locker rooms? That's what how much are we going to be there like those WWE backstage or one of those things where it's maybe like Xavier Woods is in the back and you see him, but he's not saying anything to somebody right now? Is that what it's gonna be like? We're gonna know what everything goes on backstage. I don't want to.
You gotta know.
I don't
We gotta
want
know
to.
everything. WWE, by the way, speaking of AEW, apparently WWE is planning another head-to-head battle with AEW's All Out on September the 20th. I will not stress to you how much this excited me in a way that I'm going to tell you the reason why here in a second. It's not going to be just a NXT head-to-head. It's going to be a main roster PLE. They're going to run it in Indianapolis, supposedly. That's the rumor out there. It's AEW All Out's going to be in Toronto. They're going to run it literally in Indianapolis. It's going to fall right in between. Because when I saw the original schedule, I was like, Clash in Paris is August 31st. Crown Jewel in Perth is October the 11th. That's a pretty big gap for WWE not to have a PLE. That's not the gap between like Chamber and Mania. Like that gap I get sometimes because you more build.
You got to build, yeah.
And so we're going to Chicago on September 5th to see John Cena. He was announced that he was going to be on that show. And I'm like, okay, so I got the tickets. We're in. We're going. And I was like, what the hell are they building to? I mean, from September 5th to October the 11th? Like, who's he in Perth? Like, really? Like, what's he going to do? Now the pause. We've done the NXT head-to-heads. We did the Saturday night main event, which was on TV. We did the Evolution, all the stuff, trying to compete head-to-head. We got it. But now the rumor is, Myron, could WWE Bad Blood be coming back as a pay-per-view? Could it be, ready for this, Hell in a Cell?
Hell in a Cell! Hell in a Cell! I want Hell in a Cell!
And could it be John Cena and Brock Lesnar in Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood going head-to-head with AEW's All Out, same night?
I seem too predictable when I say I'm going to be watching Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell. With Brock Lesnar and John Cena. Who couldn't not get excited about that?
Somebody please let this be true, because then that would mean, I told Rachel, I said, hey, I don't know that this is going to happen, but if that pay-per-view September the 20th and John Cena's in Chicago, how close is that to Brock's place in Canada? Could Brock show up? Because that is the PLE, or that's the SmackDown after he would have beaten Logan Paul over in Clash in Paris. Everybody's like, why does why are they giving this? They wasting Clash in Paris on Logan Paul. Why don't they just go straight into Brock Lesnar? And I said, you know why? John Cena needs a win, folks. He's got to beat Logan Paul in Clash in Paris to give him the momentum heading in, and Brock Lesnar attack him the next SmackDown that he's on to set up that next one.
He's always lurking. Brock Lesnar gonna always be
always. Yeah.
I think it's clearly they're competing. Dead to rights, they're competing with them. They're doing this on purpose.
Yeah, 100%. And that's literally one of the questions sent in is WWE intensely trying to hurt AEW's pay-per-view buys with the scheduling. At this point, you have to say it's a yes. Here's the problem. We just told you a couple weeks ago 180,000 buys is what the rumor is for All In that they went head-to-head with, and it's the third or fourth most bought pay-per-view in history for AEW. It didn't work.
No.
If that's the case, if you were trying to hurt it, it didn't work.
Now you got to throw more at it. You're going to throw a real pay-per-view at it.
You're going to throw Brock Lesnar and John Cena up against it. That's a little more, I'll go ahead and tell you.
Yeah.
And other questions sent in, if both shows are going to be airing on the same night, which is all rumors point to, which one are you guys going to be watching? Let me do my calendar real quick because I have to look. Oh, Guess what? As of right now, it's going to change. No pay-per-view, no indie show is scheduled that night. As of right now. So we're clear that night. We'll be home watching.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. Listen, never mind. I already know who's going to be running that. We'll get into that off of the air. You know who's going to be running. I don't even have to tell you.
But on the calendar.
Yeah, I don't know if they've picked a date, but we'll figure it out. So I'd love to know people's thoughts. Like, is this just outright, like, now we don't even care. We're not hiding at this point. If you're just creating PLEs out of thin air and like, hey, we're going to run it that day.
What night was Nitro on?
Monday.
What night was Raw on?
Monday. So it's a made-up PLE they're going to run on a Saturday against All Out. All right, I told you we were going to book in before we run out of time. I want to get into this UFC thing and kind of how it ties in. It's complicated, folks. It's another one of those complicated deals. Why are you talking about UFC, Nick? Because TKO owns both, UFC, WWE, and I think I'm going to get into why I think they actually play off of each other and how it affects wrestling in general. UFC, $7.7 billion, Paramount Plus / CBS deal, call it whatever you want to. Headline of this article, I'll come back to. First of all, Conrad, I was listening to their episode, and he kind of wanted to point out there's a little bit of a word juggling. It's not 1.1 billion like cash per year. There's going to be some offsets of promotional and commercials and things they'll trade off, whatever. Probably. If it was the 80s, it would be. So basically, they doubled their previous deal with ESPN. The difference from the WWE deal, Paramount Plus CBS gets everything. They get not everything technically. Dana White set that record straight a little bit on Pat McAfee. We'll get at that in a minute. And it, by the way, like all the others, it's the U.S. only. It's the U.S. rights. Around the world, they still have some existing deals, and they will kind of potentially negotiate those as they fall off. They may try to put them all under the same umbrella, figure out some things.
Why Paramount?
$1.1 billion. I mean,
but why?
Why would they do it? Or why would...
It's out of the blue. I didn't think Paramount was a sports,
Well, they're not. And let's for the record, let's say this. TV, whether it's you're streaming your TV or whatever, cable, doesn't matter. However you consume your TV, we've had this conversation. Especially Netflix. Netflix does this, the model. Hey, here's all 13 episodes or hey, 8 episodes of this series. Here you go. You can sign up, binge watch it through, cancel, and you're done. Do you know what you can't do that with, Myron?
Wrestling.
Sports.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, football has a season, but the damn thing starts damn near in August and runs through like February.
Yeah.
So for that whole window, baseball's long. So I think we're seeing, and we have seen at this point, like cable television, people are going to build their streaming services on the backbone of live sporting events. Hence, Netflix picks up Raw. You want to watch Raw? Hey, it's on Netflix. In the United States, folks, I apologize. I do realize we do have we have a market share outside of the U.S. That baffles me to this day, but we have international listeners and whatever, but it does happen.
Hola.
So a lot of this is heavily involved into the U.S. distribution rights. I apologize for that in advance. But the UFC, kind of like WWE, they have, big pay-per-views, had big pay-per-views, smaller fight nights, some other tentpole events that they put on. All of that is what Paramount Plus gets. So basically, if 43, 44, 40, whatever weekends a year the fights are on. If you're a UFC fan, you can't cancel your Paramount Plus anymore. Now, some of it's going to air on CBS, probably, some stuff like that. There's a whole conversation about that. Whatever. But almost the exact thing is opposite is happening in the UFC deal that's happening in the WWE deal, where people are complaining about the price because UFC is where WWE was when they left the pay-per-view model and went to the network.
Mm-hmm.
There were pay-per-views that were $79, 80, whatever for UFC. Now, $7.99, $12.99, whatever tier you're going to sign up for on Paramount Plus, you're going to get it.
And you don't realize that money's coming out because it's just in your cable package, $7.99 part of your cable. You just pay your cable bill or whatever. No big deal. But when you have to pay for a $79 pay-per-view, and your wife asks, "What's this $79 bill on our card?" And you said, "I was at that UFC pay-per-view I watched." No, listen, this is a much easier way for
$960 to watch the big pay-per-views alone right now. I promise you, folks. Well, I don't want to say this because they're probably all listening. Typically on Black Friday, how many times you've heard me say this on the show? They'll probably run some deal where you can buy Paramount Plus at some crazy price, either per month or like hey, we're going to super low. Let me do the math real quick. Instead of the $156 a year, paying $12.99 a month, hey, pay it for, and I've seen crazy numbers. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if I saw $79.99 or something like that.
What did you get Peacock for last year?
Peacock was like $29.99 for the whole year. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not unreasonable, folks. I mean, if you just pay attention on Black Friday, that's what I do. So here's why I think there's a huge potential. Like, so now let's kind of get in. Why would Paramount, first let's get why would they pay? Why would Paramount even do this? Because, we joked about they are paying $7.7 billion to UFC. The company's worth like $6.1 billion. You're writing a check, long term, obviously, for more than your company's worth. You want to talk about a gamble? By the way, we're going to find out if this thing's going to pay off. This whole merger with the Skydance Paramount, that's why this happened. They wanted to own a sport. Like, and what I mean by that, not like financially own, but like, when we talk about sports, we typically think of channels. Now, over the last few years, it's been rocked a little bit. Like, we used to think of basketball, TNT would be TNT. Now, ESPN and ABC, they're all got to get in the mix. When you think of football, the footballs kind of took the WWE model. Monday night, we're going to give ESPN the games, and, Fox and CBS, they get the games on Sunday. Oh, wait, Netflix, we'll give you, the Christmas games and some stuff. Oh, you want a game on Thursday, Prime Video? We got you too. We'll give you a game on Thursday. They piecemealed this thing out to their just crazy numbers. So NFL's too big to own. But as a whole, I think like college football, Big Ten football's owned by Fox. SEC's kind of quasi-owned by ESPN. It's, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? You want an identity for what your sport is. It really, UFC was it. They were kind of the last like piece out there. I think even, I'm trying to think, Apple, Peacock has a soccer league, I think a Premier League maybe that they do. You know what I mean? Like it's out there, folks. I'm just telling you. So UFC basically just the capital company Redbeard that owns 22.5% of the stake. They wanted to get into sports. It's a way to get CBS to get UFC. I mean, think about this. What if just on a random weekend night, CBS announced, you know what, we're going in. We're just going to make a gamble. We're going to put a huge fight on CBS. Just draw as many out, and we're going to sell commercials. Kind of the same concept we talked about with the ESPN with the WWE, right? It's different. And I think here's the problem. it's difficult for us as 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 60-year-old people to wrap our head around the concept of everything we think we know about TV it doesn't apply anymore.
Where's my remote control? I gotta click, click. You hear?
Yeah.
Remember when you could hear that click when you switch channels?
Click. Or you would you'd hit your kid and go, "Hey, go turn that dial up there. Go turn it to channel 46."
That was my job.
Right. So it's kind of one of those awkward things of like, I think what people are buying, and it's more abstract to some degree. And let's get into that a little bit. Basically, right the days up to it, UFC thought they were going to end up with Paramount with a piece of it. Like, they thought CBS was going to buy the fight nights, the non-big numbered pay-per-views and tent poles, and then Netflix and ESPN would maybe do those, or one of the two of those would get those, and just out of the blue, Skydance pulls the trigger. It's like, we're going all in. They want the whole deal.
They're the Dude Network, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the Dude Network.
Eventually, that's where they are. Yeah, eventually, that's, I think, where we are, is we're going to end up with all of it basically kind of being, like you said, like a Dude Network to that some degree. Look, there's some notes on here. We're not going to get into the whole thing about the fighters. I think in my opinion, I think they're kind of going to get hosed on this deal. Maybe another show. If you want the show notes at $1 level, patreon.com, check them out. I go into that. We don't have as much time to get on there because of the things I do want to hit. Two things. Number one, Myron, this I think we have seen it. We saw it, not seen it. I think currently we're in a good period. But I think we saw there is one concern as far as the product's concerned. They would load up pay-per-views because they had to sell pay-per-views.
Oh.
Think about what AEW does. Why are their pay-per-views so loaded, so long, and so many like big matches?
Because you have to justify. Buy them a la carte.
Well, because you have to justify paying $59 or whatever every month when they're doing one. UFC doesn't have to do that anymore. They've got their money. Now, you have to appease the person putting the product out. You've still got to make CBS and whatever. I get it. But did we not notice that WWE went from 7, 8 match, all these crazy 5-match cards? Why? Because you were only paying.
Well, they've spread them also. They've spread them too. The content with WWE is, instead of 8 pay-per-views a year where you had 8, 9 match cards, you have 12 or 13 where you have 5 or 6 match cards.
Even when they were 12, Myron, when they were pay-per-views, they were doing 12. But you had to load the card because you had to justify. Or what you would see is you would dip. There you go. The big ones you will let, but they had to try to make the others bigger to get more people to buy. They know they're going to have dips. Guess what the UFC doesn't have anymore? Dips. They have a flat contract. Now, again, look, we're not morons. They have to appease Paramount Plus, CBS, Skydance, all these they have to make them happy, drawing in a thing. But all you got to do is have one main fight and an undercard. People are going to come in and watch it because it's part of their package. By the way, next weekend, there's another fight night. Next weekend, there's another fight night. You see what I mean? Like, it just gives them a little bit more. It pulls the pressure back on them so they can kind of slide off. That's just my take. I could be wrong. Here's one of the biggest drawbacks. It's one of the absolute pluses that I think WWE gets, and I'm going to ask you if you think I'm crazy here. One of the pluses for WWE is one of the drawbacks that I think UFC sees. So I pulled some numbers. ESPN's footprint is roughly 300.8. Let's call it 301 million followers / subs across multiple platforms. And by the way, I did throw in like ESPN MMA because I was trying, we're comparing the MMA stuff. CBS Paramount, and I threw in CBS Sports and some, I was trying to, make it tomato, apples to apples there. 32 million subs and subscribers and followers. like a tenth.
That's a big difference, especially in social media when you look at the impact of social media on that range, man.
For a fight league who's targeting younger males, who gets a lot of their information from social media, this is part of what you're buying, folks. This is a weird conversation that we never could. I struggle wrapping my head around it. If I tappedoutpod@gmail.com, if you got thoughts that can, but here's what I think happened on two sides. Paramount thinks they're going to buy those fans following them on those social medias. If you're a UFC fan and now everything's going to be going through Paramount Plus and CBS, sure, you can follow UFC, right? But you want to follow whoever's distributing the content to see other things, because who will have a lot of the highlight clips and stuff that are coming out. That's where they're going to be. The problem that I see for UFC having losing Sports Center, losing First Take, the daily coverage, less fans are going to see UFC day to day. Look, I think that's a factual thing. Because my question, Myron, if you're ESPN and you're out of the UFC business, why are you wasting airtime like they did when they were completely invested? Because the ESPN Plus app was built on the backbone. By the way, this isn't going to be a problem until the deal runs out and they move. But in between now and then, they have to sell pay-per-views on ESPN Plus still. Through the year, you're still going to see them hyping it. Come next year when these things end, do they? Why would ESPN invest any time in them?
Well, ESPN has a great replacement for them. WWE.
Exactly.
But are all these people going to migrate from ESPN that are super fight fans over to some kind of social, like you said, social media or some kind of program about it, like an ESPN?
Yeah, I 100% think they will. I think that is without question what Paramount's gambling on. And if I'm a betting guy, I think they do. Because the simple fact, now the con side of the WWE deal is a pro side for the UFC deal. They're getting rid of $79 pay-per-views and going to $7.99 or $12.99 a month for everything. Like, here's my argument, and tappedoutpod@gmail.com if I'm wrong. Like, I was never a big pirate guy. I did maybe 1-2 wrestling pay-per-views back in the day. Cause, I could justify it to myself pirating a $50 pay-per-view. I mean, if I can get the ad version for $7.99, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
If you're not going to pay the $7.99, what are you doing? Like, you probably, that was harsh. What almost came out of my mouth. I'm not going to say that. You probably just shouldn't be watching it. If it's not worth $7.99 to you a month, it's probably not a sport you should be wasting your time on. That's a weird take.
Well, no, we may see the day where if you're a football fan, you buy football. If you're a boxing fan, you buy boxing. If you're a racing fan, you buy NASCAR. Could you just pick sports and say, these are the things I watch?
Listen, there are guys, Myron, that pay for the NFL ticket so they can watch every single thing, and it's some ridiculous amount of money every season. You know why? They really like football.
Cool. And they're loyal to football. And they're going to pay for it.
Yeah. So, listen, I get it. WWE split all over the place between like Netflix, USA, CW, ESPN, UFC. One-stop shop at Paramount. Literally feels like they almost kind of like,
That is cool. That is cool to have a fight channel, basically.
Now, listen, I'm the first to admit, you probably couldn't tell by how deep dive I went in this. I'm not the largest UFC fan I'm not the biggest, but I'm not. But I'm not, but I'm not like a guy who watches every fight. I just don't.
Yeah.
All right. Guess what I'm probably going to become? I'll watch them on Paramount Plus. Yeah, sure. But I said that to say there are some existing TV shows that Dana White was mentioning when he was on Pat McAfee that are not included in this deal. They were kind of outliers. So those things may end up somewhere else, but they were like, I think it was like the Contender Series or something like that. It's where like these up and comers, or think of like LFG or something like, or whatever. Tough one. Anyway, whatever. So at the end of the day, when it comes, can Paramount grow UFC to be like, I think Paramount needs, as you brought up, they've become a dude channel. Taylor Sheridan and Tulsa King and, UFC and blah, blah, blah. Everything dudes on here. South Park, that's a young adult, young male demographic for real heavy. We'll see. Question sent in, there's the big topic I wanted to get to at the end. Does removing the pay-per-view help grow the UFC audience long-term, or will it hurt the big fight feel? I don't think the pay-per-view being killed. Here's the thing. We got some great examples of history, folks. WrestleMania is bigger today than it ever was, and it hasn't been a pay-per-view in forever. 5 years,
tickets
whatever.
Still the biggest ones. Tickets sell for jillions of dollars. It still is amazing as it always was. Now it's 2 nights. It even got bigger.
Look, one of the titles, I told you I'd come back to the title. We're overtime a little bit, but we're at overtime. One of the things I wanted to get into was, is pay-per-view dead now? The last, big, look, with no disrespect to AEW, the last big, pay-per-view thing when we thought of it, when WWE got out, UFC's out now, AEW's the last one as far as, the true, model. Do they go to Max and say, hey, let's just cut this deal. Let's figure out the math. I mean, we figured it up. We were trying to hey, pay us $90 million, $100 million, and you could just have all of the pay-per-views, no charge. They're just on Max. Do people, do they gain any followers and follow the same model here, just on a much smaller scale?
I think if more people had access to AEW pay-per-views, they would watch AEW.
I do too.
Yep.
I think it's a huge opportunity, and I think that was kind of what they were, whatever. Should UFC fighters push now for revenue share? We didn't get into this a lot. Dude, they're hosed. They got to figure out something, because they used to get points on pay-per-views.
Yeah. They're going to have to ask more salary or per fight. I don't know how they get it.
There's win bonuses, and there's bonuses you can make in fights. But, yeah, you're going to have to ask for more up front, and you're going to have to ask for more for the winner's purse and that kind of stuff, because the points for pay-per-views they're gone. So I don't know what they're going to do. Will the loss of ESPN's coverage be offset by CBS broadcast reach? Cross your fingers, UFC, because you better hope so.
Well, if CBS is a network channel, I know many people don't have antennas anymore, but everybody's going to have CBS if you have any form of television. You're going to see UFC commercials on CBS during the football games, during regular shows. So it's going to be better. I mean, it's probably going to get more people visually to see it. That's, to me, be a no-brainer, when you're advertising your own product.
I think they may have to go real heavy with the CBS promotion in the beginning to try to drive as much as they can there. Will the numbered UFC cards lose prestige without the pay-per-view model? We kind of addressed that a minute ago. I absolutely do not think so in the least. That's just my take. I think they could level them out.
Sports bars may not do as well.
Well, they may. I don't know what they get, because here's the thing. What are you allowed to show now that it's not a pay-per-view? Can you just not show? Because you can walk in and have ESPN up on there.
Yeah.
It may save them money. They don't have to buy the distribution.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that.
So my argument would be there could be absolutely more sports bars showing, because you pay per TV and everything or whatever like that. Now you can just cut that cost out, have it on as many TVs as you want in there. Now, I don't know the deal with streaming and putting a Paramount Plus on all. I don't know that. That's a whole other conversation. I wish I knew, but I do not know that off the top of my head. Look, man, I told you we would go a little bit long. A lot of notes we didn't get into. Some of the stuff on the fighters and etc. Whopping 5 pages. So absolutely, without question, as I like to say, join at patreon.com. Even at the $1 level, patreon.com/tappedoutpod. I know at the $5 level, you typically get the shows early. This was the exception this week. We apologize. I put that post out, wanted to make sure due to technical difficulties, life happens, dude. It is what it is. But we're going to, $5 level, $10 level, you get the digital copies. $25 level, you get that physical 8.5 by 11. Don't jump off before we get here too far, Myron. I need to tell you what I got in the works.
Oh, and folks, also, if you were getting the thing early on Patreon and it was my neighbor's fault, just message me and I will apologize and send you something in like picture of my feet or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so make sure you're out there this weekend. We're gonna hit a couple indie shows. We'll discuss that off air, Myron, where we're gonna go this weekend. Hopefully we'll see you, but that's a lot to go through, Myron.
Oh God, yeah. And I've been so tired, Nick. I got a job as a security guard for WNBA. It's been a lot of work.
Well, they put the nets up, so now you should be good to go. So
okay.
They have anything else?
Nope.
What's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing, you've got nothing. What time is it?
It's time to tap out.